Huh, so the median is 60,000 a year. Well, I mean, that's pretty good. What are the similar jobs? 30, 50. What? Well, I'm starting this over. In all seriousness, I do want to be a writer. Not a novelist or author, I more want to join a writing team of some sort. However, that was so specific, I naturally had to pull back and look at writing as a whole. So let's go over with the statistics themselves first. Straight from the Occupational Outlook Handbook, it says writers and authors make a median pay of $62,170 a year, or $29.89 an hour. 61% of writers tend to be self-employed, most often wherever they have computer access. Huh. Some writers choose to travel to meet with publishers and interviews. Often, writers and authors only do this as a job on the side. My interviews with Josephine McQuail and Michael O'Rourke can confirm this. With McQuail, I asked her if there were any drawbacks to the career or the writing process. Hey, Future Chris here with a warning. Well, I mean, the day after recording that previous section, I did trim parts of her answer out of the audio clip. I spaced each necessary quote with a bit of short silence, but is still a little jarring. Anyway, I'll stop interrupting. Back to the video, just wanted to let you all know.
Well, it'd be nice to get paid for one's writing, wouldn't it? And, like I said, we're expected to do this research, and I guess you could say we're paid, from our regular job. Things like that will pay you, and it's great. To really get anything done, you do need concentrated time, and that's really hard when you're teaching.
Thing first.
Yeah, even very famous, especially poets, they have a gig teaching or running workshops or something, so you're right.
That's also followed up with Michael O'Rourke when I asked him how he started employment-wise.
I got my MFA, and then I got another, all that time I'd been working at various odd jobs, fry cook at a restaurant, janitor, and when I hit the age of 30, I realized that I had 2 graduate degrees, a master's, an MFA, and a regular master's, and was still pushing the broom. And I began to kind of panic. Got this second master's as a way of making myself more marketable to teach freshman writing.
Though, that does not mean it is hopeless. An article from the Writing Cooperative by Kayla Lee put this into a perfect, succinct quote. So, my business model is sell content to businesses to make money now, write books to sell for money later. It takes time, and you need to prove yourself like most careers. If there was a career that was easy to get into and pays high, then everyone would scramble for it. I made the joke at the start that public relations and fundraising managers makes 3 digits, but you need 5 to 10 years of management, fundraising, or PR experience. Sometimes a master's degree. These are all jobs you work to get to, not the kind you just get hired for by existing. With my specific career interests, a good entry-level job is staff writing, where, and I quote from getinmedia.com, in these collaborative sessions, the staff writer should take advantage of the opportunity to provide input. Like improvisational actors, writers bounce ideas off one another with the aim of adding to and supporting brainstorming, rather than detracting from it. Constructive criticism should be followed up with a pitch for a solution, which is exactly what I want. I have rarely been happier working on something than a good group project. From there, you can then be a producer, lead writer, and all those positions. Only after showing you know what you're doing, of course. With that aside, what exactly do writers do? Well, they write. But aside from that, when they write, sometimes research is necessary. As for what subject they write about, it varies. It can be scripts, biographies, newspapers, advertisements, or whatever that person is interested in. Essentially, if it requires more than a word or two, writers are helpful. There also isn't that much in the way of training. Much of it is on the job or watching more experienced writers work. Beyond that, a bachelor's degree is usually needed. What about related fields? I already mentioned PR managers, but what about the others? Well, there are announcers. They commentate and work in radio and television. The median pay is low, but there is a noticeable number of jobs that only need a high school diploma. Otherwise, a bachelor's degree will do. Many English majors go on to be an editor or a technical writer. Again, those two still require some experience in the field. Public relations specialists keep businesses looking good and is below the managers. Journalism is also viable. I got in touch with Lindsay McReynolds, the managing editor of the Herald Citizen, and I asked her bluntly if there are any other jobs or careers that overlapped with her own.
Public relations is a job that overlaps a lot. We get a lot of press releases from different agencies promoting different topics and different events, so that is definitely an overlap. There's also, teaching, education kind of overlaps with us.
Before I end, I do want to explain why I chose English as my major. Like most, I read a lot as a child, and I was always entertained by how stories were made. When it came to any class where I had to write a paper, I always did well. I have a knack for putting my thoughts onto paper. In middle and high school, they pushed STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, down the students' throats. I was one of them, and went into engineering up until last year. I was good at math up until calculus, but I was always good at English. I also have a bunch of story ideas that I can only use in an English field. While it does not look like I'll be slaving 9 to 5 creating my own stories, I know I would be much happier and go further here, though journalism looks fairly hopeful for purely writing. In the same interview with McReynolds, I asked what an average day or week looked like.
Well, we produce a newspaper 5 days a week. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those mornings look pretty similar. Our stories have to be done by usually about 9:30, and then that gives me and the other two editors time to read them and then put them on the page and then send them downstairs to our press by 10:30 every morning.
I went into this project looking for a long-term career. While it seems like for my ideal career, I could start with staff writing and go from there, anywhere else, just purely being a fiction writer isn't as good an option. There is an increase in freelance work, often for businesses and the like. I could not get into contact with anyone who was specifically a writer or anyone who used to be or currently a staff writer. If I did, maybe I won't make out the situation as being so dire. It still doesn't mean anything bad for an English degree. No one should just stop writing. Go and send what you have out to newspapers, magazines, publish yourself online, anywhere. It can't do any harm.